Good afternoon, everyone. Allison Schaberg here, Consolidated Planning Group. We're excited to be a special guest of Marianne Campbell and Partners Resource Network PATH Project 5. And I think she's going to share a little bit about the PATH project at the end of this presentation. Again, Allison Schaberg, Consolidated Planning Group. Consolidated Planning Group is a holistic special needs financial planning firm. If you're seeing us for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. And if you're coming back and you've attended some of our other webinars, we really strive to put out a lot of educational events, webinars on a pretty regular basis surrounding special needs topics. We do have a YouTube channel. We'll share that at the end. So there may be some other topics that might be relevant in your journey if you're in this transition phase with your child. So today we can't see you and we can't hear you. Your cameras and your microphones are muted, and but we do want to hear your questions. So if you have questions as we're going along today, please put those in the chat box. Marianne's going to be monitoring the chat box and she'll share those questions. We're going to strive to answer as many questions as we can. This is running from 12 to 1. We will be done by 1 o'clock. So if you're trying to plan lunch plans or work plans or around that, you can just know that for sure. And today's webinar is being recorded and it will also be put out there on our YouTube channel. And following today's recording, we will also put out an email either later today or tomorrow, which will have all of our contact information, both Marianne, myself, how to reach us, and then we'll have a link for the recording if you want to listen to it again or share it with somebody else. So thanks again for being here. So today what we're going to be talking about is college planning for special needs families. And this is one that was pretty near and dear to my heart because I really spent a lot of time sleeping and breathing this as I was kind of looking at some of these options for my own child that was transitioning. And, I really learned a lot along the way. And what I would say is I do this for a living. I do special needs planning. I eat, sleep, and breathe special needs every day, professionally and personally. And whenever I was going through this, I would say that it was very challenging. So as a result of that, I was motivated to put some things together and some things that I learned along the way that may help you in your journey. One thing that I will also mention is stay tuned because we will also have another webinar coming up. Hopefully we can get that scheduled in the next few weeks with a new partner kind of advocate that I'm going to partner with. And she's really, really a specialist on, going deep and wide with the different schools that are all across the country and some of those different programs. So we're going to invite her back and kind of co-host an event with her. So be on the lookout for that one. So as we're, really looking, when it comes to higher education or what is the next step after high school, where do we go from here when we have, kids with special needs? And I think, I always spend time talking about the traditional path versus the non-traditional path. What does that look like? Just because our children have special needs, some of them have intellectual disabilities and they learn differently, or they have learning disorders or other things that have made learning quite a challenge. And others have other maybe physical disabilities, but have intellectual strength, and some of them are even genius level. Okay, so we have kind of all across the board where people may fit in to this. But I say keeping an open mind and consider all options. And honestly, as parents, I think that's what we've been doing all along. When you have a child with special needs, is we're keeping open mind and considering all of the options. But oftentimes our path is not the traditional path, whatever is traditional anyway, but it's what society says is traditional. So where is your child? Are they mature enough? Are they lacking some of the maturity? Some of the things that we see with ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, kind of some of those other things, is we see that some of the maturity maybe not, maybe anywhere from 2 to 4 years behind some of their peers. So although they might be college age, they just clearly might not be there from a maturity level. Now, and I'm not even talking about an intellectual level right now. So in that example, some of your children may be attending, or you may know about, or you might be thinking about some of the transition programs that are out there. There are some really wonderful transition programs that are tied to some of the public school systems. There are a lot of other transition programs that aren't tied to the public school systems that are relatively awesome, and they're all over the state. So it's something that you may think about. So if we're not quite there yet, maybe it's not, maybe it's not a university, maybe there's a certificate program, it could be a trade school, it could be, there are some university degree programs, obviously, but then there are also certificate programs with both the university and the community college. We could think about things such as a reduced course load. I mean, I've seen families where we try one class, just because the 12-hour credit hours is considered a full-time course load. Maybe your student can take one and it's a 3-hour, 3-hour credit course. Kind of setting them up for success and kind of looking at some of these things, kind of testing the waters. If you think your child might be able to do it, but you're not completely sure, this might be, living at home and trying 1 or 2 classes versus living on campus. And then, of course, there's all kinds of partnerships and other organizations to work with your students. And there are programs where they actually do live on campus in communities that basically supported communities that they can be safe in. So one of the other things, and we definitely have webinars on all of these, types of topics, the Texas Workforce Commission, vocational rehab, that might be another path. So Texas Workforce Commission, vocational rehab, this is basically, the vocational rehab runs from 14 to 22, the program for young people. Your child may already be enrolled in this. They may have done some of the summer earn and learn or some of the other things, but this program is designed for young people with disabilities that have a potential impediment to employment. And there's testing that goes on that is covered by this program, and then there's basically the results that they found from the testing and where the deficits might be. Then there's all kinds of training and support or other things that may come out of it. And it may come out of it that they're going to pay for school. There's a whole bunch of things that they may or may not pay for depending on what your child's needs are. But it's okay. Not all children are cut out to go to college. It might not be the best environment for them, and maybe it's not right now, maybe 10 years from now, maybe 4 years from now, maybe it's just not right now, but getting some of those other critical skills or social skills or some of the other things that they need to be successful, in that setting might be helpful as well. So we always say, they aren't behind, they are where they are. So I think as parents, I know, for me, like sometimes you think about, where are they? Are they ahead? Are they academically gifted? Are they behind? Maybe they're behind socially, but not, academically. And there are some real issues with both, right? So if we're critically behind academically, then the ability to make it in a community college or a university setting might be difficult. But again, we've got people on here that their kids are academically gifted, but their social skills are lacking. So there's some major concerns there as well. But just meet them where they are, and I think as a parent, I think it's okay for us to just take a step back and just say, just kind of be realistic with your situation and their strengths and their weaknesses, and meet them where they are, and try not to compare and try not to look around. But I think it starts early. I mean, it starts early, the comparing and the looking around to what other kids and what other families are doing and things like that. And all the social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, and the pictures and things that people are posting, it's hard. So the 6 factors that students with learning disabilities need to succeed: self-awareness. So basically, successful participants showed awareness of their strengths and weaknesses in both academic and non-academic areas. They're proactive. They persevere through thick and thin. They're starting or becoming more effective at goal setting. They have presence and use of effective social support systems and emotional coping strategies. And all of these are important, but we've seen a lot of we've seen a lot of emotional coping strategies going down the drain over the last couple of years with COVID and isolation and all the things that have been going on in the world around us. What we've seen is the emotional coping strategies are struggling. Oftentimes kids with these other diagnoses, whatever they may be, they also have comorbid conditions. So maybe, ADHD, autism, they may have anxiety, depression, any number of other things that could be causing issues in addition to what the underlying diagnosis might be that caused the disability. So the presence, use, and effective social support systems are truly, truly important for all human beings, not people just with disabilities, but understanding what does that look like if they're going away, if they're going, outside of your home, they're going to live on campus somewhere, making sure that that environment is safe and that it's conducive to that is going to be really, really important. Okay. So accommodations and offices of disability on the college level. So one of the reasons that I'm pretty passionate about kind of talking about these things is, I knew, first off that we were going to need accommodations on the university level when my daughter was applying for colleges. And I think we applied for 10, which was probably excessive. Some people just know they want to go to UT or they know they want to go to A&M or whatever it is. But we were really looking for the program that she was interested in, and we had narrowed down the schools in that way. But what I learned very quickly is that this is no job just for your student. So whether your student has a disability or they do not have a disability, this is not a job, a do-it-themselves type of job. None of these universities or community colleges are created equally. They don't have the same set of rules, the same set of deadlines, the same set of resources in their offices of disabilities. So what I learned very quickly is that it was all very different, and that those differences could mean whether it's a good environment for my child or not a good environment for my child. So clearly do your homework on the Office of Disability. And again, I recommend, so if we know that your child wants to do a particular thing, then obviously selecting schools that have that degree path are going to be important. But then the very next step I recommend is really researching the Office of Disability, interviewing them, going there, talking to them. What resources do they have? What accommodations do they have the ability to put in place for your child? Really thinking through what accommodations are necessary, those types of things, because what I learned very quickly is none of the offices of disability are created equally. Some are very, very good. They have a lot of staff. They have staff with a lot of tenure, and they do a great job. And other schools may have a office of disability that is run by one individual, and they have very little resources. So if your child has had success in the public school system because they had those accommodations in place, those accommodations are going to need to be in place on the college, community college or university level. So the thing that you need to know is just because you had accommodations in the public school system doesn't mean that you get accommodations on the university or community college level. They don't just transfer. You don't just take your IEP or your 504 and send it over to those college offices and they just accept it and do everything that the public school did. It doesn't work like that at all. So basically, to determine what accommodations are necessary, they usually require updated testing every three to 5 years. This learning disability testing, neuropsych testing, etc., that basically shows what the deficits are and what the accommodations necessary are to close the gaps in those deficits. Now, what I will tell you is this testing is very expensive. If you called today to schedule at Texas Children's or wherever, there could be a couple of month wait to a 6-month wait before you can ever even get an appointment. If you're already established somewhere, it might be sooner. And then once you actually have the appointment for the testing, it could be it could be another couple of months before you have the results. So the reason I'm telling you this is I want you to plan early, because what we don't want our kids to do is to start these classes with both hands behind their back without accommodations when they need accommodations. A couple of other things that you might want to know about the testing is that if you've had testing that's older than 3 to 5 years, some schools, you'll have to call the Office of Disability and ask, will accept your older testing if accompanied by a letter from your physician saying basically nothing's changed, these accommodations still are needed, they're still seen by that physician, et cetera. Some schools will do that. Some schools have also relaxed the testing requirement because of COVID and because it's been a little bit more difficult to get those testing done. And another thing that you can think about, most districts are not doing this type of testing. There might be some testing out there that you may have from old testing that the district did. Vocational rehab, we talked about that a little earlier. Texas Workforce Commission, they do a lot of testing as well that it can include the neuropsych. It typically includes a vocational evaluation, and those if that testing is warranted through the Texas Workforce Commission, then those services will be covered. You also can check with your local intellectual disability authority. Every county has a different one. For instance, Fort Bend County is Texana. Harris County used to be MHMRA. I still hear people say that a lot, but it's the Harris Center. So your local intellectual disability authority may also be able to do some testing as well. So those are some places that you might check, and that they may be a little bit more affordable or free other than paying for it out of your pocket, which could be anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. From the work side, reasonable accommodation is required if it does not pose undue hardship. Some of these programs through the Texas Workforce Commission, Texas Workforce Solutions, your child could end up with a job coach, etc. Again, we have a whole webinar on that, so you can go deeper and wider with that. And there are definitely liaisons all across the state to talk to you about these programs. Also, at your public school, there's a liaison with each of the public schools and a lot of the private schools as well. Okay, so post-high school options for special needs day and transition. This is just a few, and I always say, we don't endorse them. We don't work for them. They don't work for us. But these are just a few of the programs that we know that are out there for special needs day and transition. There is Bloom Consulting. We've got Brookwood Community in Brookshire, Marbridge, which is just outside of Austin, Next Step Transition in Deer Park, Reach Unlimited, Summer House, The Hub, and Monarch School and Institute. There's a ton of programs. This is just a few to name a few. Some of them accept waivers, Medicaid waivers. So maybe some of your kids are getting waivers. They're on the interest list and they might be getting waivers, or you're hoping that they're going to get a waiver sometime soon. Some of them are private pay and they do not accept waivers. So researching these early, again, with COVID, we've seen that some of these have waiting lists. So if you have a child, you can kind of get yourself on a waiting list sooner versus later, 15, 16 years old, if you want to. And then, if their waiting list is 5 years, you may come up in 5 years and you may not want the spot, but at least you have the opportunity to decline should you want to. So again, if you're thinking we're not going straight to the university or straight to a community college, think about some of the transition programs, because these transition programs are pretty wonderful. The kids are happy there. They're making friends. They're important. They're doing things. They're making things. They're building things. They're selling things. There's a lot of activities. But I think that the key is what we want to avoid is that they're coming home from high school. They've graduated high school, or they've graduated their first transition program, and they're coming home and there's nothing. There's no work. There's just nothing. And over time, what we know for sure is that's basically not healthy for them or, us as parents either. So that's kind of the thought there. So here's some educational options post-high school. This is just a few, and again, we don't list all of them here, everything that could possibly be out here. Some of these programs have, specific programs that are specifically tied to, individuals with special needs. Some of them have, some of them are certificate programs. Some of them are are programs where they're learning a specific skill that they can use in the workplace. Some of them are actual degree programs. So, but some of them, they're, the number of students that they will take on an annual basis is very small. So again, start early, work through, go to their websites, kind of look around and see if this might be a fit for your student. If they need to go into a program, this might be a program prior to going to the university or to gain some of the skills that they might be falling short in. But again, basically all of the universities out there. So like, for instance, my daughter went to the university and she went not into a program specifically for special needs, but she went into just a four-year degree program, but she went in there with significant accommodations that would allow her to be successful in college. So wherever that is, whatever that looks like for you, there's nothing wrong, but just know that some of these programs are pretty tight as far as getting into them, just because of COVID and because of, limited attendance. And one of the things that you guys might want to add to your list as you're kind of researching some of these, which ones of these have moved to online versus in person? Does your child have a compromised immune system that would make this in-person thing not be a good fit for them right now? Or does your child have learning differences that makes in-person learning totally imperative? So again, and we've seen it all across the board, but some of these definitely have moved to a online version. So you might want to check this out. So we have had a webinar on this as college living experience. This is close to A&M and the community college in Brenham. But it provides individual post-secondary guidance and instruction, academics and career development, independent living skills, and social development. So basically, this is something that you pay for out of pocket. Waivers don't cover this. It's not covered by insurance or anything like that, but it's like their living experience, and they're learning these independent living skills, but they may be also going to A&M or the community college there, or growing some of those skills. So this is some information on how to reach out to them, the college living experience. They have places all across the United States. It's not just in Texas, but so there are areas across the country that they have other places as well, and they are doing virtual open houses at this time. So what I would say is that this is a great option for families, but this is also an option that could be cost prohibitive from a cost perspective, because the cost perspective it's pretty high. It's a wonderful place, a wonderful program. Anybody that's ever gone there, their kids are very happy, the family's very happy. But from an expense perspective, it might be out of budget for some families. Another thing that I mentioned earlier was Bloom Consulting. They have many programs, and so the biggest takeaway I want you to take away from this slide is to check out Bloom Consulting and how they might be able to help you in your journey as you're kind of considering some of these things. Their program is designed to go alongside your student, your neurodiverse student with various disabilities as they attend post-secondary institution of their choice. So this is either through in-person or virtual support. So kind of look at this as kind of a mentorship program. They're kind of working with your student. It's a wraparound planning process, and they do some assessments, the Berkman method assessment, to build an individualized support team. And so then they pair the students with a connection coach, and they really help on the mentoring, guidance, and navigational support. And what this does is this takes mom and dad out of the equation a little bit on this type of thing, where they're kind of accountable to somebody else that can hold them more accountable than you can. And not that we can't hold them accountable, but sometimes we're at an age where we're getting a little pushback from our teenagers. Maybe it's just at my house, but anyway. But if that's the case, this is somebody that they can relate to and they can work with, and they really have the understanding of how that neurodiverse brain is working. So I think it's just a good thought. So I do know for sure that they have a really solid program that goes alongside at Sam Houston University. They have programs all across the country. There's one in I believe in Nevada. But this is a lot more, from an affordability perspective, basically $1,000 a month private pay, or you can contact your VR counselor to discuss a sponsorship. One of the things that I will tell you is Bloom Consulting has a lot of services. They're really good at what they do, and they can be private pay, or they do also have partnerships with the Texas Workforce Commission and vocational rehab. So you may be able to get Bloom Consulting services or some of these services that I'm talking about, and that might be part of the program of VR and getting your neurodiverse child to work in the future. In neurodiverse child to work in the future doesn't mean they have to go to work right now. They might need to build skills or get training or some of the other things, and that might include college. So don't, even if your path is that you're planning on doing college, that's okay. You may still want to work alongside with that Texas Workforce Commission and the vocational rehab along the way as well, so they can be building the skills and that they're going to need for their workforce while they're building their knowledge and their chosen career path. Okay, so we spent a little bit on this. This is some information on Workforce Solutions. Anna Cluth, how to reach out to her. And so we've kind of talked about this. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one for right now. And then also, we kind of just talked about some of the different services that are out there. So again, we'll put the slides out when we send the email later. We'll give you a copy of these slides, because these slides do have a lot of phone numbers and links in them. So you can try those and see if they might be helpful to you as you're kind of navigating through this. So as we're talking about college, of course, the topic of funding and how much does that cost comes up on a pretty regular basis. So one thing to be aware of is the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, is available each year on October 1st for the following school year. So if you have a senior in high school, you need to complete this October 1st. Even though your child is a senior, they're going to be going to college next year. If they're going to college next year, you need to be starting and completing that FAFSA starting October 1st. You're going to want to complete this each year, whether you think you make too much money or not. The fact is, you might make too much money, you might not. Most of the scholarships require that the FAFSA is completed, whether you make too much money or not. Okay, so if you don't complete the FAFSA, then right off the bat, your son or daughter may not be qualified for any of the scholarships that are out there that they may otherwise be qualified for. So don't assume it's just based off of money. So our kids with disability, there are a ton of scholarships out there. So here's the thing. A couple things on this page that are important for you to know, and I said this a minute ago. This is going to require partnership with parents and students. And a lot of parents want to turn this to the student on some of these things. Or you need to research the scholarship, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. You need to complete the FAFSA. The FAFSA is going to require a student account, username and password, and it's going to require a parent account, username and password. And most students are not going to have the capacity to fill out the FAFSA themselves. That ask a lot of pointed questions about your tax return. It has a connection tool to connect your tax return to it. It's not a senior in high school activity, so you might want to work with them alongside on this, on the FAFSA. The scholarships, the community-based, school-based, disability, disease-based, sport, music, or band-based. So this is where this comes in line. It's like, wait, it's like my new full-time job. I'm kind of looking at some of these things. What I can tell you is that it can be worth your while. It can definitely be worth your while to look at some of these scholarships. Some of them, it's true that they're widely, applied to, and few are given, but there's a lot of them out there that people miss, or they don't even see, and they don't apply for them. So one place to start, okay, so of course you can look at the internet. You shouldn't pay for this service. There are tons of scholarships out there. You don't have to pay somebody to tell them to tell you about them. One place that you can check is with the child life specialist at the facility that you go to. The specialist that you see for the disability that your child has, oftentimes they're aware of scholarships for the disease-based. There could be sibling-based scholarship for, it could be siblings of autism or siblings of Down syndrome. It could be anything. There's the most random scholarships out there. But one of the things that I would have to say, so I've talked to the gifted, the people that have gifted children with disabilities, but for those of us that don't have, gifted children with disabilities, or maybe they're a little bit more struggling learners, or, they're not going to ever have a 4.0, and they're not going to take weighted classes or some of these things that other families may be able to do. Can your child still get a scholarship? And the answer is yes. So the answer is you have to plan early. The answer is you have to go back to what I was saying in the beginning of knowing your child's strengths and weaknesses. Okay, well, I knew based off of my child's disability that she was not athletically inclined. Okay, so I knew for sure we were not going to get any sport scholarships. I also knew that although she was smart, she also had, some learning difficulties and things like that. So I also knew that we weren't going to get that top 5 or top 10% quartile scholarship that people get, and they get these full rides on. But what I did know, and she wasn't musically inclined either. And so what I did know is that she had a lot of heart, and that she worked really hard, and that she had a very powerful story, because oftentimes, she was working, working from behind because of her disability, because of illness and things like that, but she always won. She always came up on top, and she always kept trying, even when anybody else would give up. And so she had that perseverance that a lot of people don't have. And she had a big heart, and she was giving back in her community. So what I learned and what I researched is, so your child may not have all of these other things that they're really, really great at, but maybe they have what I just said. And so I will tell you, it is possible for their college to be fully funded. Okay. So you want to research early. You're going to want to know your deadlines. And you're gonna, this is where the spreadsheet comes in, and I always shake my head, oh, trusty spreadsheet. Because here's the thing, here's the quick thing that you gotta know, is a lot of the deadlines for the college, for these scholarships could be December of your child's senior year. So you think, oh, well, at Christmas break, we're gonna work on college applications, we're gonna work on scholarship applications. Some of the deadlines might be December 1st. A lot of them are December 1st, December 15th. So for the following year, okay? There's a ton of scholarships on the website of each of the schools that you might be considering, in addition to the ones that you can find online, in addition to the list that you might be able to get from your, the social worker at the facility, or the clinic that you guys go to. So paying for this, it can be grant money, it can be scholarship money. Of course, your 529 college savings plans can pay for college, and also an ABLE account, a 529A for ABLE can also pay for college, but an ABLE account can pay for a lot more than college than your 529C. So if you have a 529C and your child may not go to college, you can convert that 529C to an A. We can help you with that. But an ABLE account can pay for transition care. An ABLE account can pay for tutoring. 529s can't. An ABLE account can pay for the university or the community college. Basically, in an ABLE account, we have other presentations that are just fully dedicated to an ABLE account. An ABLE account, if it can be construed as achieving a better life for an individual with a disability, it can basically be paid for out of an ABLE account. And an ABLE account is also something that you should consider if you don't already have one. If your child is going to get SSI and Medicaid, an ABLE account is a place where they can have money more than $2,000 that will not disqualify them for SSI and Medicaid. So we can talk more about that in another time or offline. And then again, vocational rehab may provide support if it's in line with the goals established in the plan for the individual to find competitive employment. So you heard that correctly. So what I'm not saying is, okay, vocational rehab will pay for college for all of our kids. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, if the college is needed to reach those goals of that plan for competitive employment, and they're working with the student to identify those goals and where they want to be, those types of things, then it very well may pay for some of the tuition. So you guys might want to check into that. Okay, So some of the scholarships, and this is where we're going to send this presentation. So I'm not going to, go one by all of these scholarships, but there's a lot of great scholarships out there. One thing that I wanted to mention, because some people actually don't know this, and it's okay, but I wanted to mention that if you have an adopted child through the DFPS, through the state of Texas, and if you adopted a child through another state, you may check their programs as well. But right now, there is a state college tuition waiver for children that were adopted through DFPS. So basically, your child can go to Texas state schools for free if they fall into that category. So you might want to check that out, and tell others about that if they don't know if they have adopted children as well. So we talked about the child life specialist. So the Terry Foundation is pretty near and dear to my heart. This is one that I want you to research. It's based in Houston. It's the largest private scholarship provider in the state of Texas. And basically, this scholarship runs in perpetuity. It's been running for many, many, many years. And they're awarding scholarships to 13 Texas public universities. So all the ones that you can think of: A&M, UT, Sam Houston, Texas Tech, Stephen F. Austin, basically all the state public universities that you can think of, they've got the scholarship running through them. So this is the scholarship that my daughter got. And so this scholarship is based off of really decent grades, but giving back, volunteerism through the community. So I knew early what scholarships we weren't going to get. So I went after the ones that we could, and serving and giving back was something that we could do. She did a great job at it, and weaving in and out of being sick and having her own issues and things like that, and had decent grades. There wasn't perfect test scores. She wasn't in the top 10%. We didn't blow the doors off in any of the SAT, the ACT, or any of those things like that. But look at this. So look at this and see if this may be, maybe a consideration for your child. Have they given back? Have they given back in the community? How many service hours do they have? I'm talking more service hours than, hey, we need 10 or we need this. This is truly giving back, and in a couple meaningful places. Is that beyond saying I volunteer at my church? It's that consistent volunteering, consistently giving back, and in the consistent environment. So just look at those. So some scholarship searches, these are going to be links that you guys can check out, and you can add them to your spreadsheet and add when does the application open up, when does the deadline for the applications. One thing you may want to have on your radar, and many of you may have if you have seniors this year, but if you don't, the summer, when you go into the summer right before the senior year, that is the time that these essays need to be done. So a lot of the scholarship applications require essays. A lot of the college applications require essays, and each year there's a new essay prompt. It's already out. When school gets out, the essay prompt is already out there. So really, having your student do their essays, and you may want to hire somebody to have them kind of edit and look at the essay. But one thing I will tell you for sure is do not write the essay for them. The college admissions people are pretty hip to that. They know when parents have wrote these essays, but work with your kids in the summer when they have time, because they go back to school, they're feeling overwhelmed, then they're trying to get these essays done. And this is a lot. What I'm talking to you guys about, these applications for college, these applications for scholarships, and all of this stuff, it's a lot to manage on top of your full-time job and their full-time job as a student, maybe their part-time job if they're working. It ends up being a lot. So if we delay and we procrastinate, it can be pretty overwhelming. So these are just some other scholarships that may be out there. Again, if you can think it up, there's probably a scholarship, any kind of disability, learning disability diagnosis that your child has. I mean, honestly, anything of a diagnosis or history that you had. I mean, there could be scholarships for mothers of kids that had moms that had breast cancer. I mean, there could be anything out there. So be creative. There's some big ones out there. We know that there's some big ones that are $20,000 with the 4-H program. They're very, very academically competitive. There's a lot of programs through the rodeo, through the Houston Rodeo. There's the Go Texans Scholarship. There's a lot through there. So you may want to look at those, and those are some of the bigger ones. But what I would say is help your child choose wisely on the scholarships that they may apply for, because a scholarship that is awarding $20,000 and a scholarship that's awarding $500 may have the same application process. They may want 3 essays. They may want this 10-page application that is time consuming. So for me, I just chose the ones that would be substantial, that would make a difference, make a dent in the tuition that we're going to have to pay to the college. And I chose wisely because we only have so much time. So I didn't apply for the 250 ones or the 500 ones. It's basically going to cover a book for one semester. But you've got to do what you feel good about. But I just had to be smart from a time perspective. So again, we've just got a lot of these scholarships here from a timeline. There's some just different clickable links that you can look at and research. But again, bear in mind that we want you to, spend time on the college websites of the colleges that you are considering applying for. Definitely do spend time on their websites because they have a lot of links as well. So as it relates to things that should be on your special needs planning radar, we've kind of talked about some of these things. We really help families develop a comprehensive special needs care plan. If you have a child that's going to need care for the rest of their life, a special needs care plan is an important consideration. We also do future care cost estimates. So if we're thinking about residential or other types of living arrangements outside of your home, we can look at those types of things. Texas waivers and interest list. If your child has disabilities, they most likely they're already on the list. You've already put them on many years ago. The waiting lists are very long for services, and most of the waivers they kind of waive off care costs and things like that, but they're mostly, not all, but mostly for kids that have intellectual disability with an IQ of 70 or below. So I'm talking about CLAS, Texas Home Living, the home and community-based services, the HCS waiver, and then there's community first choice waiver is out there as well. So these are all some of the waivers and the interest list that you should be on. If you're not, go ahead and get them on that, and you're going to contact your local intellectual disability authority to get them on the list, except for CLAS. And CLAS has their own separate phone number. So I don't want to be telling you something you already know, but for families that might be new to Texas or they've never heard this before, it might be 15 to 17 years before your child is ever going to come up on that list once you get them on the list. And again, they may not need the services when they come up on the list, but what you don't want to do is have a child with a diagnosis that might have degenerative conditions or other things that might go downhill, not uphill, to where they might need services in the future. But when you figure that out, it's a long time, 15 years before you can get them any help. SSI, SSDI, we have complete webinars on this, understanding the differences and knowing when to apply. The basic thing you need to know is if your child has a disability, there's a real good possibility that you should be applying for SSI and Medicaid once they turn 18. It's based off of their assets, not yours. And we talk more about, having assets in the right bucket, what you can do, what you can't do, how you disqualify from those types of things. So if you have questions on that, we're nationally certified as a Social Security Social Security advisor, and we have specialized software. So that will help identify, if you're looking at retirement options and things like that, your Social Security benefits come into play for the benefits of your disabled adult child in the future. So when to turn on your Social Security benefits and how that all works, and the intricate details, we have software that spits all that out and kind of can really tell you when and how you should turn that on and what does it mean to you and what kind of benefit will it bring to your child. Beneficiary designations. It is important if you have a special needs child that is on SSI and Medicaid that you yourself, your spouse, your loving grandma or mother that might leave money to your children, that they do not leave that money directly to your child that has special needs that is getting SSI and Medicaid. It will cause them to disqualify from that. So the way to do it is to leave it to a special needs trust. So again, we have webinars basically on all of these topics. We have webinars. If you have a child that's getting SSI and Medicaid, if you have child support, if you are divorced and you're in the state of Texas and you have child support that will continue post 18, that child support must be directed to a special needs trust, or it's going to be counted as income to your child who's trying to get SSI and Medicaid, and again, could make them disqualify from that. There are times like these that we're thinking about guardianship, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, supported decision-making. All of these are options in the state of Texas. Some of you may already have them in place. Some families don't know what to do because they think that their child is getting there. They're not quite there yet. They may be a little bit immature, like we talked about earlier. And so maybe a healthcare power of attorney and a power of attorney might be workable alongside a supported decision-making. There is a such thing as partial guardianship. It doesn't have to be full guardianship. There's a lot of options out there, and we definitely have webinars on all of those topics. So if you haven't done that already, that may be something that you want to listen to. But one thing that I will say is that healthcare power of attorney is real needed. Whether you have a neurodiverse student or a neurotypical student, when these kids are turning 18 and they're going off to college, absent a healthcare power of attorney, something happens to them, there's an accident, things like that come up, you don't have that in place, you are going to be very, very limited on what, if any, information that you can get in something like that. So, and the other thing that I would say there is this is also an important conversation to have with your aging parents. If you have aging parents, do they have a power of attorney? Do they have a healthcare power of attorney? Having these conversations, deliberate conversations, intentional conversations, while people are alive and well, while people are not incapacitated, is an important thing, and it will cause a lot less stress in the future as things come up. Guardianship can be applied for 6 months before a child is turning 18. We're happy to make referrals on the attorney side of, somebody, to work with that on that. As it relates to who we are, again, Consolidated Planning Group, we are a special needs financial planning firm. We work with special needs attorneys. There's a lot of confusion sometimes of what do you guys do and what do they do? I thought they did that. I thought you did this. So I kind of use the analogy of we're the money and they're the paper. So yes, we do work very closely with attorneys all day, every day on these topics that we're talking about, guardianship and special needs trust and things like that. So these are the paper, it's the legal documents, and these legal documents may very much be necessary in your journey. Again, with the number of people that we have on here today, everybody's journey is a little bit different, but the legal documents are necessary. We're the money. We're the funding. We're making sure that you have the money in the right buckets. We're making sure that there's enough money in the special needs trust to fund the future care of your child if you're no longer here. So again, we work together, and what I would say is if you have a special needs child, your situation is specialized. So just like if you had a heart problem, you're not going to go to a foot doctor. You're not even going to go to a PCP and tell them that you're having a heart problem. And that is the same as it relates to special needs. We're nuanced in understanding the deal and what needs to happen or not happen as it relates to SSI and Medicaid, Social Security considerations and things like that. So when you're working with somebody that doesn't have that experience, you could accidentally mess things up, and it's really, really easy to do because the journey that we're on together is convoluted. And so anyway, I just wanted to share those things. We're happy to help any way we can. Our consultations are always free. In our email later today or tomorrow, you'll have an opportunity to connect with us should you have a specific question or, as it relates to your situation. So let's see. Okay. So yes, if you guys have any questions, I'd love for you to add them in the chat box. And as I said, if you'll stay tuned for our upcoming meetings, you will see that we'll have some additional meetings on this very topic that may be additionally helpful. A lot of the families that we've served, I mean, we are in Texas, and a lot of the families that we serve with special needs students, they're not even remotely considering outside of the state programs for higher learning. But the lady that we are going to partner for, she's really good at knowing these all across the country, and a lot of these kids have had a lot of success with that. So just do be on the lookout for that. So having said that, Marianne, I would just love to turn it right back over to you. And if we have any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time.
Yes, we have some coming in. One of those is, can you go over how the school accommodations are transferred to college?
Okay, so yes, that's a good question. And I just want to repeat that school accommodations are not transferred to college, period. 504 IEP, you can share that with them. They have no obligation to take your accommodations from the public school or any school and implement them on the college. So again, this is where the testing, the neuropsych testing, the most recent testing, 3 to 5 years, are going to be necessary, identifying what accommodations are necessary. You may also work with your psychologist or your psychiatrist if you have a child working with one, or the PCP that has identified, whoever identified what those accommodations were needed to get accommodations in the first place. You can go back to them, but you are going to need to have testing that will be updated, more recently. One thing I missed a little on, and I want to make sure that I cover this, is the ACT and the SAT. I skipped right over that, and I meant to talk about it. So the ACT and the SAT, most universities require one of those tests. So another thing, that all the schools are created differently. Some schools have relaxed their requirement for the ACT or the SAT. Some have said it's, choice. And some are still requiring it. So you would it's important to note and see what scores they're requiring and what they're, requiring for the ACT and the SAT. The testing has not been as frequent. It's been harder because of COVID, so forth and so on. But the big thing that you need to know is those accommodations in the public school don't transfer to the ACT and the SAT. If your student needs accommodations for testing, many of our students do. There is a form. You can go on the collegeboard.org and type in, like in the search box, type in accommodations or disability accommodations, and up will pop the forms that you will need to have signed off on by a doctor. You're going to want to submit those early, or you're not going to get them approved, and your child will be taking the SAT or the ACT without accommodations. Some of the accommodations that you could get is testing in a small class size or an individual one-on-one class size. You could get up to 100% more time. Maybe they have processing speed delays, so they can have extra time. There's several accommodations that you can get. The ACT is different than the SAT, and the ACT has their own website and their own accommodation form. So if your child is taking both, they usually say the math and science kids take the ACT, blah, 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 whatever. A lot of our kids, they're going to take both anyway. But go ahead and get their form and get that ready and get those accommodations in place. It is very, very important. Now, what if your kid is going to the community college? Okay, guess what? What if your child has test anxiety and they test horribly? We have some people like that. So who cares? Don't even put them through the stress of the SAT or the ACT. There's the Texas Readiness Test. It's the TSI, T like Texas, SI, and I think it's the Texas Success Initiative, but the TSI is the test that they have to pass, and it's reading, writing, and math. To get 4 credit classes on the community college. There's free things that you can do TSI practice. So if you know they're going to the community college first, do not stress their pretty little heads with the SAT or the ACT. It's just totally not necessary. So, okay, do we have any additional questions?
Yes. Can my son go to college if he will not get a regular high school diploma?
So there are programs. Yes, there are programs out there that will that will be certificates and other things. There's definitely programs out there that he can go to, that he can get a certificate and he can go through those processes. He's not just done if he doesn't get a regular high school diploma.
Okay. And how can I be added to a mailing list to get upcoming webinar information?
Yes, I think that will happen if you registered for today's event. I think that you will get an invite. Our team puts out monthly, like a monthly webinar list of all the webinars that we're having for the whole month, so then you can subscribe to that. I do see a new question. Do you know if universities will accept a school district psych evaluation, or does it have to be an MD? Sometimes they will accept the psych eval. So again, if you have a letter accompanying from a doctor or from their psychologist or psychiatrist saying, I've worked with this, this person for a long time, and these are the things I agree with the underlying diagnoses, and these are the accommodations that have been in place, and I agree that they should remain. This is a diagnosis that doesn't change. It doesn't get worse. It doesn't get better. Something like that. I have seen them accepted, and I would say that it is completely worth asking. And I got some accommodations. I got actually for my other child, I got old testing accepted with the College Board, accompanied by a letter from the physician saying basically that I've seen this person for all this time, nothing's changed. These are the same accommodations that I'm recommending. So before I spend $3,500 or $5,000 getting that new testing, I would definitely try that. So we have go ahead, and are there some additional questions?
The last one is, what exactly does transition programs offer for our kids who are college bound?
So that is going to be an individualized question. A lot of these programs are really tailored to that individual and kind of where they're at and where they're going. Different programs do different things. So we do have, if you email us or contact us, we do have a transition program spreadsheet. And again, we don't work for them, they don't work for us, but they're just programs that we know that are out there, and we just say research them. They may be a fit for one and not for somebody else, but we'll be happy to send that out to you. But there are so many different programs out there that are doing so many different things. I think it's a matter of finding that right fit. I mean, there are even we've done a residential webinar before for housing options post age 18, and there are even residential apartment complexes and other things for neurodiverse that are doing different things. Some of them might be working on the premises, some might be working in the community, some might be taking public transit to the community college. So there's, if you can think it, it's out there, and it's just a matter of kind of spending some time and kind of researching some of the different ones. Okay.
That I had for questions that were sent.
Okay, and then this is a good comment by Carrie Axtell. Hello, Carrie, and glad you're here. The ACT streamlines accommodations eligibility requirements for students with IEPs and 504 plans, policy change for 21 and 22. Okay, so that will expedite the process. And one thing that I will also say, and that's good to hear, when I went through this, it was faster than the previous child, but the first child took months. They were so slow in getting it back. But then the interesting thing is like once COVID happened, they somehow got faster. Everybody else in the whole world was blaming COVID because of why they were slow. But somehow the College Board got faster in COVID. So let's see. ACT, the nonprofit developer of the ACT test today, announced plans to increase accessibility to ACT tests for students with disabilities by streamlining the accommodations. So this is great news for our community. It is really, really great news. And the other thing that you can do, again, if you're, I know that some families homeschool or whatever, but if you have a child that is in the public school, they have a testing coordinator at this school. Your testing coordinator at the school can help you navigate some of these waters as well. But do it early. Get your spreadsheet, have a plan, work your plan, and work alongside of your student. That's the biggest thing, is work alongside of your student. And they need you. And although there's all these college, you may have a college coordinator on campus and things like that. A lot of times these college coordinators, they're good, they're great, but they might be covering multiple campuses, or even if they're just covering your campus, there's no possible way that they can be your child's personalized, advocate on this matter. It has to be you. So anyway, well, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. I've got just a minute left, and I wanted to turn that back over to you, Mary Ann, so you could share quickly about PATH.
Yes, I wanted to just let everyone know, if you didn't already know, what and who Partners Resource Network is. We are the PTI, meaning Parent Training and Information Center, for the state of Texas. So we do a lot of things. I am a regional coordinator. I cover Region 5. That's ESC Region 5. And there is a me in every area. So if you're joining today from anywhere in Texas, just know that you can reach out to me, and I can help you get in contact with the me in your area. Or if it's a simple, question, or I don't mind answering it as well. We help parents understand their child's disability, know their rights under IDEA. And we also do things like workshops like this today. Sometimes we collaborate, and sometimes we have our own. I do one-on-one clinics. And if the situation is such that I feel my presence in an ARD could help, we do attend ARDs. And of course, everything that we do is free of charge. But my main goal is to help empower and train you to be the best advocate that you can for your child, because at the end of the day, that's the best set of skills that I can give you. I know for myself, I'm a parent of a child with disabilities as well. And whenever I started out, I was lost, and I found Partners Resource Network. And actually, the person that was here before me helped me. And then, here I am now. So I know it works. And I know that the skills that I am blessed with today still help me be the best advocate for my son. So if I can help you with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me.
And I just like to say, yeah, for sure, use these resources. And that's why we put these webinars out there, and we partner with organizations such as yours, because we want to put, I know for me as a mom, I felt a little overwhelmed by this. Okay. I do this for a living. This is what I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe this. And whenever I was going through this transitioning with my older daughter, it is unnecessarily difficult. And so we really, really try to put this good stuff out there for you, so that way you can take charge of some of this and not feel overwhelmed. But if you are feeling overwhelmed, do reach out to Partners Resource Network, reach out to us. We do want to help, and it doesn't have to be as difficult as it seems. And I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and I can unravel some of it, so it doesn't have to be as stressful as maybe it's been for you. But thanks so much, everyone, for being here today. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us, and we look forward to serving you in the future.
Yes, very much. Thank you so much. And at the end of this, when you close out, there's going to be a survey that pops up. And if you could please complete those couple of questions, we would greatly appreciate it. Y'all have a very good rest of your day.
Bye now.